As we all know, Everton are having their last season at Goodison Park before moving to the new Everton Stadium next season. And of course, many teams have obviously moved stadiums, either because the stadium is getting too old or no longer holds enough space for the fans. So let's look back at Premier League teams who moved stadiums and what exactly happened to their old homes. Today we're going to look at 6 Premier League teams, starting with West Ham. In 2016, West Ham moved to the London Stadium. It had been the star of London 2012 Olympics, and West Ham snapped up the chance to make it their new home ground. This meant they'd leave Upton Park, which had been their home since 1904. On May 10th, 2016, West Ham said goodbye to Upton Park, and in fairness to them, it was in style, with a late comeback to beat Manchester United 3-2. They moved to the Olympic Stadium, but many fans were and are still unsatisfied with the new stadium. Due to the Olympics, it was never designed solely for football. Many seats are too distant from the pitch, leading to a disappointing atmosphere, nowhere near the quality of Upton Park. The athletics track, which is still used to this day, became a nuisance. According to The Guardian, in 2018, many fans complained to the owners by chanting, "You've destroyed our club." West Ham also don't own the London Stadium and have it on a 99-year lease instead. Many fans also complained the only reason the move was even done was to make money. Upton Park was at the heart of the area and was surrounded by houses of the fans. The new stadium meant the club was no longer near the heart of the community and was a longer walk away for the people of West Ham. And sadly, Upton Park met a sad end. It was sold for only £38 million, a very cheap price for over 100 years of history. The entire stadium was demolished and converted into 842 high-end flats known as Upton Gardens, with the total value of the houses worth over £340 million. It is sad to know that so much history has been reduced to just some areas for housing. The only signs left of the old stadium are the bubble-styled paving of the pathways, a small memorial garden, and a statue of England's World Cup winners. A very disappointing end. Next up is Leicester City. As we all know, Leicester currently play at the King Power Stadium, but before that, it was Filbert Street. Filbert Street was the home ground of Leicester since 1891, however they left the ground in 2002. The stadium has been under many changes throughout the years, but had been with the Foxes for a very long time. It was iconic for its Kop end, known as the double-decker. However, in the late 90s, it was clear Leicester needed to expand the stadium for greater attendance and better facilities. Originally, Leicester wanted to expand the stadium further. However, Filbert Street suffered the same issue as many old stadiums. As it was part of the community and had been for a long time, it was surrounded by houses, which meant expansion was impossible. This led to the choice of building the King Power Stadium. However, it was built very close to the original Filbert Street. The final game at Filbert Street was in 2002 and Leicester beat Tottenham 2-1. Sadly, it wouldn't matter, as the final season at Filbert Street would see Leicester relegated from the Premier League. The new stadium, the King Power, is mostly well liked by Leicester fans and feels like a fitting home for the former Premier League champions. Filbert Street was sold to a development company for £3.7 million. The stadium was demolished and Filbert Village was built instead. A road also now runs through where the stadium once was and has been named Lineker Road after iconic former Leicester player Gary Lineker. However, half the site still hasn't been built on, with construction currently taking place. Next, we have Tottenham Hotspur. From 1899 to 2017, White Hart Lane was the home of Tottenham. The stadium had become iconic over the years. However, as time moved on, it was clear that Spurs were falling behind other major clubs in terms of the quality of their stadium. so the choice was made to leave White Hart Lane. Before West Ham actually moved in, there was the choice of moving to the Olympic Stadium. Wembley was also seen as another potential option. However, as we all know, in the end, none of these ever happened. In May 2017, Spurs left White Hart Lane and played at Wembley temporarily. Meanwhile, the iconic White Hart Lane was deconstructed after supporting Spurs for over 100 years. This was because the new stadium was being built on the same ground as the old one once stood, meaning Spurs could keep the history of their famous site. And in 2019, the new stadium opened. Many fans still love White Hart Lane, and despite the new stadium being on the same location, they are not at all similar. Some fans miss the character of the famous stadium. However, the new stadium is simply revolutionary. With a high capacity and world-class facilities, it is the perfect home. It has also hosted other major events such as NFL games and also hosts the F1 Drive experience. It is a world-class stadium and could even be debated to be a better facility than Wembley itself. However, in terms of the original White Hart Lane, sadly, not much remains. Another Premier League team to move stadium is Manchester City. For 80 years, Main Road was their home. It was also temporarily the home of Manchester United at the same time as Manchester City post World War II due to Old Trafford being damaged during the Manchester Blitz. However, in 2003, the citizens would depart Main Road to move to the City of Manchester Stadium. The stadium was originally built to host the 2002 Commonwealth Games. Shortly after, Manchester City agreed to lease the stadium from the City of Manchester Council, which is what led to their departure on Main Road. The City of Manchester Stadium continued to be expanded and took the name the Etihad Stadium as we all know today. Meanwhile, Main Road was sold and demolished. A housing estate was built on top where the stadium once was, and one of the few things that remains today is the centre circle where the pitch once was. Many fans have now adapted to the Etihad Stadium, however some still miss Main Road for all the history it held. Now we move on to a team who have been in their current home since 2006. Arsenal currently reside at the Emirates Stadium, which is a modern and high-tech stadium fit for the current standards of football. The capacity of the stadium is over 60,000, which is greater than the 38,000 of Highbury. However, Arsenal's old stadium is forever iconic. Arsenal had been at Highbury for 93 years, and it was just simply incredible. This is especially true for the East Stand, which was incredible. It was also known for having a smaller and more narrow pitch compared to most teams. This was purposely done to benefit Arsenal's style of play at the time as a defending focused team. However, as time moved on, Highbury wasn't up to date with modern times and a new stadium was needed to fill the club's requirements. Originally, the plan was to expand Highbury, however, their plans would involve demolishing 25 neighboured houses near the stadium. They also couldn't expand or demolish the East Stand, as in 1997 it became a Grade 2 listed building, meaning it was protected as a part of history. So the choice was made to construct the Emirates Stadium not too far away from Highbury, and it's been their home since 2006. Meanwhile, a lot has happened to Highbury. Both the North Bank and Clock End were demolished, however both the East and West Stands remain. The plan was for the old stadium to be turned into 650 apartments, which would be called Highbury Gardens. The pitch was turned into a garden and more buildings were constructed where the old stands once were. In 2009, Highbury Gardens was officially opened by Arsene Wenger, and compared to other old stadiums on this list, like Filbert Street and Upton Park, this is slightly different. This is because Highbury Gardens kept by far the most of the stadium's old history. The iconic marble halls remained, and so did the player tunnel. And of course, most notably, the East and West Stands, which are a huge part of the apartments. One thing that didn't remain was the iconic Highbury clock, which had been there throughout history. However, it was instead moved to the new Emirates Stadium as a constant reminder of their history at Highbury. Overall, Highbury Gardens is incredible, giving new life to the old stadium while still having permanent memories of its famous pitch, which was once there. It's a shame Leicester, West Ham or Manchester City couldn't do the same. And the final team I want to mention on this list is Everton. Goodison Park has hosted more top-flight games than every other stadium in England. Opened August 24th, 1892, it's been hosting games for 133 years. This includes a semi-final in the 1966 World Cup. And Everton have actually planned to leave Goodison Park all the way since 1997, with a plan to build a 60,000 seat stadium, which would have been the English record at the time. Of course, this never happened. However, in 2001, plans were made for a 55,000 seater stadium on the docks of Liverpool, but these plans were abandoned in 2003 due to a lack of funding. Everton then once again tried once more with a plan for a new stadium in nearby Kirkby. These plans then also failed, as this was protested by Everton fans in 2007 due to Kirkby being outside the boundaries of the city of Liverpool, and they wished the club to remain in the city. Whilst other plans to expand Goodison Park didn't work, due to it being like many old stadiums, surrounded by the houses of its supporters. But finally, in 2016, planning was started for the new Everton Stadium, which we'll finally see in the Premier League next season. This then will give us a very sad end for Goodison Park. Despite it being one of England's most iconic and famous stadiums that has been used throughout history, it is suspected Goodison Park will be completely demolished. Despite everything that makes it so special and so iconic, it will not be protected. Instead, £82 million will be invested into redeveloping the area. It will include new houses, office space, care home, retail and leisure space. This redevelopment will be known as the Goodison Legacy Project. And although blueprints have been released, we don't know how much history of the old stadium will be left over once the development is completed. But either way, it's a depressing end to a stadium that will forever be in English football's hearts. So overall, we're seeing many old English stadiums disappearing. Throughout history, we've seen stadiums at the heart of the community and surrounded by the houses of their passionate fans. But sadly, with the stadiums growing, we're often seeing clubs being taken away from their community and a new stadium being built elsewhere. We still see plenty of stadiums like this though, such as Preston's Deepdale Stadium or Luton's Kenilworth Road, both being amongst the houses of their fans. But this doesn't seem like it will last forever. Luton are looking to move away to a new Power Court stadium, and more clubs seem to be becoming distant from their historical roots. This is the sad reality of modern football. But that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider subscribing. Anyway though, that's it for now. Take care, and I hope to see you next time.